Have you ever thought about how much energy we use? Whether it's watching cat videos on our phones, buying a burger from a takeaway, or going somewhere in the car. Pretty much everything we do involves energy. But where does it all come from? Well, I've been checking this out. For most of human history, our energy use has been pretty low. But over the last 100 years or so, it's skyrocketed. Quite literally. At the moment, most of the energy we use comes from things like gas, oil, and coal. They're often called fossil fuels because they come from the remains of prehistoric plants and animals. These remains contain carbon, which when we bring it up from underground, can be burnt to make energy and fuel. Imagine that, we're using dead dinosaurs to move all our stuff around and generate electricity. Crazy! But burning fossil fuels also sends harmful gases into the atmosphere, causing our climate to change. Luckily though, there's another type of energy, called green energy or renewable energy. It creates electricity using wind turbines and solar panels, which use the heat of the sun. Plus, there's also hydropower, created by the flow of water in rivers and oceans. The good thing is, these forms of energy aren't as harmful for the environment, but that doesn't mean there aren't some challenges. For example, what happens when the wind isn't blowing? And what if there's no sunshine, like at night time? Well, let's talk to an expert, one of the UK's green energy pioneers, Dale Vince. Hi Dale, so can you solve some of these problems for us? Are wind turbines any good when the wind isn't blowing?
Well, it's a good question and a funny one because obviously windmills, as I prefer to call them, don't go around when there's no wind, but it's not such a big problem. That doesn't happen very often. And when it does, we have big cables connecting the countries of Europe and we can take electricity from somewhere where it is windy and give it back when we have the wind and they don't.
And what about all the steel in wind turbines? Doesn't that have to be made with fossil fuels?
Another good question. Wind turbines are made from steel and concrete. Most things are today, but that's not the problem that it might appear to be, because if you look at the carbon cost of all of those materials, when you put up one windmill, within 6 months, you've got that back through carbon savings. And for the next 30 years, you make a net saving of carbon. And steel is beginning to be made without fossil fuels as well.
But what about solar panels when there's no sunlight?
Of course, solar panels don't work when there's no sun at night time, but that's not such a big problem. People on their homes today are putting in batteries and solar panels so that when they make energy during the day that they don't need, they can keep it and use it at night.
So which country is doing the best with renewable energy? Well, I've been looking into this, and let's see if you can guess from these four which one it is. Is it the UK, the USA, Norway, or India? Well, the answer is Norway. Nearly all of its electricity comes from hydropower, created by water flowing down steep valleys from its high mountains. And guess what? They're exporting some of their hydropower to the UK, using giant wires across the North Sea. So Dale, could we be doing more in the UK to make sure that we don't use fossil fuels?
Absolutely. There's two things we could do here. One is to use less energy. We can probably save 20 to 25% at home by turning things off, turning things down like thermostats. And meanwhile, we've got 50% green electricity on the grid. We could get to 100% in about 10 years. We have enough wind and sun to power the whole country nearly 20 times over.
And what about innovations for the future?
So we have a new way to make electricity, something called a tidal lagoon, using underwater propellers, driving generators. That looks really exciting. But up until now, we've only been talking about electricity. We also use a lot of fossil fuel gas to heat our homes and run businesses. We've found a new way to make that gas from grass. And we have enough grass in the country to make all of the gas that we need so that we can free ourselves from fossil gas completely.
Thank you, Dale.
That was my pleasure. Thank you.
So it seems like green energy really is the way forward if we want to protect our planet. And before too long, the fossil fuels that we rely on at the moment will become a thing of the past, just like dinosaurs.